Hello, today we're going to be making a basic wire wrapped caged pendant. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be using 22 gauge dead soft square copper wire. And right here, I cut myself 11 inches and 4 pieces of this. You will also need half round wire, which I am also going to be using 22 gauge. And I cut myself about 12.5 inches of that one, and that's going to be for the bail. And then I also have a second piece of half round, the 22 gauge, and this is about 4.5 inches. So I have some flush cutters, some tweezer nose pliers, some nylon pliers. You can use a dowel or a pencil depending on your stone size, which mine is 11 millimeters. And also a pin vise to twist the wire for a different and unique look. You can also use your tweezer nose pliers for that as well. I will also be using some beads. I will be using some 2mm beads, which are right here, and some 3mm beads right there. So we're gonna find the center after straightening out our wires and making sure that they are side by side all together. And taking that 22 gauge half round, we're going to make sure that the flat side is down, and I'm going to put it between my thumb and the wire and holding with my index on the other side. And on this side, on my right hand side, I'm going to be applying a lot of pressure and pulling it, making sure that these are still laying side by side. Pulling this and making sure that it's nice and tight so we can make loops around the entire thing to combine it together. So I'm going to do about 5 around the base. So there's 3, and then there's 4, and there's 5. And I'm going to bring it back up to the top. And so now both of my half round wire pieces are at the top here. And you can do more wraps if you'd like. It depends on what style you're looking at making, what you want it to look like at the end. I don't like that many wraps at the bottom, but this is the least amount of wraps I would put. Just that way we can make sure that this is nice and secure. So then I'm going to take my flush cutters and I'm going to cut on either side just a little bit before the front so you can't see them and they're not sticking out. And cut these tails off of each side. And then I'm going to take my tweezer nose pliers and I'm going to go ahead and flatten that out. And that's what that should look like. Make sure they're nice and all together. And this was in the center of your wire. So now that we have that, with the side that has the 2 little tails that we cut, that's going to be the inside of the pendant. So we're going to go ahead and get our dowel or a pen, whatever size you have for your stone. And I'm going to use my 2 thumbs and I'm going to push that around and then use my index finger and start bringing that around as well. And trying to keep the bottom part where we did the half rounds in the center. So that's how that looks, and bringing them towards the top. And this is where you get to decide how long and how tall you want your bail to be. So, or how long you want your piece to be, and then kind of calculate where your bail is going to end. So the bail will probably end about right there. So I'm going to use my thumb and my index, and I'm going to find this, keep the center of each side and push those together. And that's how that's looking so far. Keeping all of these nice and flat side by side. So you'll have your 4 on each side. And then let's measure that up to our cabochon. And that fits perfectly in there, just like that. So now we're going to take that 12.5 inch piece of half round. And the flat side is going to go down again. And And so you're going to leave a little tail end, and I'm going to put my index finger in through the center a little bit so I can hold with my thumb on one side and my index finger on the other. And then I'm going to place this wire under my index finger. This is how I do it. And hold that down while I'm going to make 3 wraps around the entire base. So all 8 wires. So there's 2 wraps, and I'm using a lot of pressure to hold this, and I'm also keeping my tail very, very taut of where I'm using my half round. So there's 3 rotations around, and then you're going to have your tail coming from the back, sticking out, and I'm also going to bring that around to the front. So I'm going to push this down, bring this tail into the front, and I'm going to stick that through the center. And then once I have it in the center, I'm going to adjust and I'm going to pull. You can also adjust here in the front, but be very gentle not to scrape your wires. So when that is looking pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and actually bring this around one more time. And before I tuck it in the center, I'm going to cut just a little tail. That way it's long enough that won't stick out the back, but that way it fits right in between inside of there. That way it's nice and secure. So I'm going to take my tweezer nose pliers again, and I'm going to secure that down, push it up, and now that is nice and tucked inside of there. So you have this tail end coming out, and you can use your nylon pliers. See how I have a little kink there? And I'm going to straighten that back out. And then I'm going to stick my stone back in, and I'm going to flip it towards the back. And then I'm going to take the 2 back wires and I'm going to help them to go over the stone. So you can use your tweezer nose pliers for this. So on that side, that looks good. And then we're going to take the wire on the other side and do the same thing. You can actually just push it a little bit over the stone. It's still going to come out the front, so we're just working on the back right now. And flip it around to make sure that you like the way it looks. And that looks pretty good. So now we're going to take the wires from the front, and we're going to stick our pliers in there and kind of bring those over the stone as well on either side. Sometimes it's easier to get a little nail in there first. So now that you have your cabochon nice and secure in there, we're going to make it even more secure by doing the bail. Here you can also put your pliers in here, and I'll show you. You can go forward a little bit on each side. It gives it a little bit of a different look. And you just bend up and push up, and it creates that little base on the cage. So now that's definitely not falling out from either the front or the back, and we have our nice tail end here. So now we're going to decide which wires we want to go ahead and use. So what I like to do is I like to use the back wire as my bail wire, and then the other 3 in the front on either side, I like to use those for my design. So I'm going to bring the 3 from either side in the front. So these are the 3 in the very front on the right, and I'm going to bend those down just like that. And then I'm going to hold my piece, and I'm going to take the other 3 on the other side and bend those down as well. And then we have our 2 wires in the back. And we're going to bring this tail end over the front and around the back. And we're going to start wrapping it around the 2 wires in the back. And we're probably going to want to go up, I'd say about not quite an inch, but maybe 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to wrap this around until we get to that spot. And making sure when you're wrapping, you are keeping tension on the wire and you are making sure that they are side by side, not on top of each other, that it's not loose, because when you push it down at the end with your tweezer nose pliers, you want it to look uniform and you don't want it to look like pieces are sticking out. So I'm just keeping nice tension on the wire when I'm wrapping, going from front to back, over the front, to the back, you can smooth your wire out as you go. And if the wire bends on you, you could just bend it back. And as you work with this, it will work harden, so the wire will get harder. I'm just taking my time and I'm wrapping it around continuously, making sure none of them overlap. And I'm going to get to about there. All right, so now that I've wrapped about 3/4 of an inch up, and you can do it a little bit longer if you want a bigger bail. You could do it a little bit smaller if you want a smaller bail, but I wouldn't suggest doing it too much smaller, because then it's going to be hard to do a design and then fit your necklace string in through it at the end. So I'm going to take that tail end and bring it to the front, and I'm just going to snip it right before it hits the other side. And I'm going to secure that down, and I'm going to flatten it all the way down. And you don't have to apply a whole ton of pressure. You could do it gently and continue to apply pressure as you see fit, not to damage the wire. So now that I have my bail coming from the back, I'm going to bend the 2 wires forward, just like that. And I'm going to bring those through the center. Straighten that back out. So we have something that looks like this. And taking those 2 tails that went through the center to the back, I'm going to push them out. So this is the back, push them out. And bring them under those other wires, just like that. And bring them to the front. And then I'm going to cut just a little bit. That way it can tuck in the inside but not stick out the back. Just bringing that around. Cut just a little tail. And then we're going to stick these inside the center and secure them down on both sides. So that's how it looks on the inside. That's how it's looking from the front and the side. And this is how the back looks. Now we can start playing around with our design. So we have 3 wires on either side. Now for this one, I like to go ahead and this is when you want to make more of a design. You can also do it with 3 wires instead of 4, but I really like doing designs where I can have lots of swirls going everywhere. So I'm going to take the back wire on the right side and I'm going to go over the front like this and bend it with my finger to make a curve. And then I'm going to take the very front wire and I'm going to bring it under that wire, bring it under and help it to curve over the top, laying next to that wire. And then I'm going to hold it with my thumb and I'm just going to make a little turn here at the top, just like that. Bring that over more. And then I'm going to cut this tail just a little bit shorter so it's easier to work with. And I'm going to continue to hold that design in the front and I'm going to bring this through the top of the bail and through that hole. And pull it through and just make a little loop around that. So the tail is sticking out the top. And I'm going to cut just a bit of a tail. That way we can tuck it inside of there and it's nice and secure after that. So we're going to take our tail, secure that down inside of the bail. Fix this wire so it's laying nice and flat on top of our wrapped bail right there. And then I'm going to take the right one again and I'm just going to follow that same curve of this other one, just like that. Straighten these wires out. And then I think I'm going to add a couple beads onto this one. So I'm going to take my 2mm copper beads. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to slip those on there. And then I'm going to bring both of these to the side and to the back. Just like that. And I'm going to cut my wires so that way, again, I have a little tail that I'm going to tuck in the inside to secure down. So securing that down just like that, nice and tucked in the inside. And then for the other side, I'm going to bring down the front wire and I'm going to go along with the curve of the beads and bring that one to the back as well. And cut this one with the little tail and tuck it into the back just like I did the other one. And now for these 2 last wires, I'm going to do them at the same time. I'm going to bring them around to the front. And I think what I'm going to do is make a rounded design. So this is the most back wire. I'm just making a twist, a loop, and just keep on following the loop. Just like that, so I could fill in the space. And in this space, I think I'm going to add a couple more beads. So I'm going to do a small one since the top looks a little smaller, which is a 2mm bead. And then I'm going to do a 3mm bead. And I'm going to bring that one around to the back as well. So that's the front. And this is the back. Cut a little tail end. Secure that in the back. Just like that. And then let's make sure this curved design is nice and flat. So I pulled it out just a little bit, flattened it out, and I'll push it back in there. Hold it with my thumb and bring that wire to the back and around. So that's what the front looks like. And coming around to the back, having a little tail end again, and securing that down. Just like that. So that's what the back looks like. You can straighten it out. And this is what the front looks like. So this is what the finished piece looks like. You can either leave it bright and shiny copper just like this, or you can antique and polish it for a darker look that it really does give it such a nice contrast. And that's using liver of sulfur and steel wool to go ahead and polish it up at the end. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoyed.